I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong.
Hi there, I'm JB.
Jesus Christ. That's Jason Bourne.
This video I have thought about for a long time. Retirement. Yuck. Even the word makes my skin crawl. But hey, it's inevitable.
I am inevitable.
I have been a growth investor for a long time, and I could not really see why I should be looking at investments that would yield lower than 25% a year. Why would I do that? But now, I'm probably getting too old for this. Retirement is getting closer and closer and closer, or at least I have to think about it. And maybe you should think about it too. So this video is about retirement, when and how. Just a little teaser, but still, I think it's a good thing to think about it and be prepared. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. As a lot of people, I want to retire early and spend my time with my family and doing whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, instead of having some company or boss telling me what to do. I want the financial freedom to do whatever, and preferably as fast as possible. The recipe so far has been investing in high growth companies, or at least companies that will double my money in 5 years or less. That's why 88% of my public portfolio is in high growth or tech companies. And by the way, that's why my balance is fluctuating a lot when these companies get hit, especially Tesla, which is a large part of my public portfolio. But as I said, for a long time I've been thinking about a more secure and stable form of investment, as I really don't like the idea of selling some of my great companies at a time when it doesn't make sense. And that's just the problem with retiring with a high growth portfolio. You will eventually need to sell some shares at a time where they won't be worth top dollar, and you will regret it. That will reduce your portfolio and the time that it will last, which would ruin the long-term performance, or in the worst case, force you back to a 9-to-5 job. Yeah, I know, a lot of YouTubers and internet gurus will tell you that you need to have a side hustle or other means of income, but let's face it, we can't all have rental properties or great side hustles or stuff like that. So we need to find a way to make our retirement easier, safer, and more manageable. And I want to say, more realistic. I have friends who want to retire and live on the Riviera and drive supercars and just party all the time. Well, fine. If they can grind and work and retire with millions in equity, that's fine for me. But here, I must be realistic. I did not go all in real estate in my 20s, and I did not cash in on Bitcoin when it was at the top, and I did not go in GameStop and other stuff. So I don't have that kind of money. I'm just a normal guy with a okay savings and an okay amount of portfolios. Regarding housing, I only traded up several times, and yes, that gave me the possibility to have a fairly nice house today and some cars. And yes, I could sell some of this and finance the retirement, but I'm not gonna do that. So, what could I do? I started looking at a kind of a simple retirement plan and figuring out what would I need, how would a life in early retirement look. Because I'm a data analyst, I of course had to do the numbers. So let's start by looking at what's possible and how it can be done. We need to have the following answered. What is a reasonable retirement age? What do we expect to need per year in retirement? How long do I expect to live? How much will I need to make that work, and which investments will give me that safely? What's a reasonable retirement age? Well, many people who pursue early retirement will define it as retiring in their 50s, 40s, or maybe even earlier. These are often people within the FIRE movement, which is financial independence, retire early. The FIRE movement has essentially redefined early retirement, making it less about leaving work and more about having the financial independence to decide when and how you work and for whom. But ironically, retiring early requires a lot of work. You need to self-fund your retirement because the earliest that you can start receiving Social Security is at around 62, I think. However, your monthly benefit is reduced if you take Social Security before the full retirement age of 66 or 67. So, depending on what year you were born, that monthly reduction in your benefits could lead to a reduction of up to 30% of your Social Security benefits. I made these 5 simple steps to retire early. Step 1. Budget and spending. Here's where that work comes in. No matter how you want to slice it, retiring early means making some changes to how you currently earn and spend your money. So you get to relax in the future. Normal people would use the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your income goes to your needs like housing, transportation, food, insurance. 30% goes to your wants like dining out, gadgets, entertainment, etc. And the last 20% goes to savings and investing. But for early retirement, that's not gonna cut it, unless you're in your very early 20s. Here's a short look at what you need to invest every month according to your age. The earlier you start, the better. If we assume you want $50,000 a year in your retirement, the final amount is around $1,250,000. And that means if you are at the age of 20, you would need to invest around $537 a month. If you're at the age of 25, that amount would be about $923 per month. The age of 30, a little over $1,600. Age of 35, almost $3,000 per month. Age 40, $6,000 per month. Age 45, $16,000 per month. So you see, start early is the key. And if you really want to retire early, then going all in for a couple of years can really do the trick. Let's say you can live on 50% of your income, or maybe even less. The rest gets funneled into investing. The numbers can become really staggering over time. Let's say you're 25 and make the average wage, which is just below $40,000. After tax, you should have around $30,000 a year. If you could invest $15,000 every year for, let's say, 5 years, and invest in something giving you at least 10%, maybe even more, you would have around $100,000 after 5 years.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Now you would only need to invest 20% of your income for the next 20 years, and you would have over $1.1 million at the age of 50. And if that $1.1 million is put in some high dividend payers, you would be set. Step 2. Calculate your annual retirement spending. The good news, following step 1, you're probably used to living on just a small portion of your income, so you could consider doing that a little bit more. That in turn translates into needing less money for retirement. The assumption is you will continue to spend the way you do, but don't count on it. So prove that out by putting together a retirement spending estimate. To do that, take a look at your current monthly spending and consider what will go down and what will go up, and what might be added or what might be eliminated. Add your final monthly expense estimate, multiply by 12, and you have the magic number, your annual retirement need. To make it truly magical, I recommend increasing it by at least 10%, maybe even 20%. So you have some wiggle room. You never know when you want to splurge out a new haircut or new clothes. 2 things that are frequently overlooked during this, both of which could put an end to your early retirement, are taxes and healthcare. Healthcare in particular is a real especially for those who get their health insurance through work pre-retirement plans, because leaving that job means leaving your policy behind. There are some options for replacing it. If you're married and your partner is still working, the easy solution is to monkey on to their plan. Otherwise, consider purchasing private insurance or searching for a plan through healthcare.gov. You could also look for a part-time work with some healthcare coverage. Some companies do extend health insurance to part-time employees. Or you could see if you qualify for an industry association that offers group coverage like COBRA. COBRA, a costly way of temporarily continuing your workplace policy by covering all of the premiums yourself, should probably be your last resort. And now everyone's favorite subject, taxes. Yikes. The goal, as always, is to minimize them. To do that, you'll want to strategize about how and when you pull income from your investment accounts. Keep in mind that many tax-advantaged retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs have rules for when you can take qualified distributions. In most cases, requiring a minimum age of 59.5 to avoid taxes and penalties. The exceptions, though, are Roth IRAs, which allows you to distribute contributions but not earnings at any time. There are a few exceptions to the early distribution rules. One popular among early retirees is to start a series of substantially equal periodic distributions. Those are allowed. You might consider working with a financial planner to develop a strategy for tapping your investments while ducking taxes. It could be worth the money. Step 3. Estimate your total savings needs. Well, the work you did to nail down the spending already, you're already halfway through this one. Thanks to a couple of rules of thumb widely used by early retirees, we can find the amount pretty simple. The first is the rule of 25. You should have 25 times your planned annual spending saved before you retire. That means that if you plan to spend $30,000 during your first year in retirement, you should have $750,000 invested when you walk away from your desk. $50,000? Well, you would need $1,250,000. Incidentally, this is a good motivation to get that budget in check. The rule assumes that your retirement nest egg is invested so it continues to grow. After all, thanks to inflation, your spending will increase at least slightly each year, and your investments need to keep up with that. This brings us to the second rule, the 4% rule. This indicates you can withdraw 4% of your invested savings during your first year of retirement. Each year after, you draw that amount adjusted for inflation. The 4% rule comes from research in the 1990s that tested a variety of withdrawal strategies against historical market conditions. You may want to take a more or less conservative approach, depending on how your investment, risk tolerance, and how the market is performing when you retire. But there remains a disclaimer: neither of these rules are foolproof, but they're generally considered reasonable strategies. If you plan to rely on savings from your tax-deferred retirement accounts, remember withdrawing savings before the age of 59.5 could be considered early retirement, and you may incur income taxes and end up paying penalties. However, you can withdraw money from a brokerage account without paying penalties at any time.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Whoa. Did you tap the like button yet? Are you not entertained? Well, if not, tell me how I can improve and become better and make content you like. If you did, please hit the like button. It helps out other people's finding this video and makes me happy. Step 4. Start with investing for growth. At the risk of stating the obvious, retiring early means 1. You have a shorter period during which you can save, and 2. You have a longer period during which the money you save needs to support your spending. Both of those mean investment returns are going to be your best friend. And to achieve the best returns, you need to invest in a portfolio geared towards growth. And maybe consider using low-cost index funds with an allocation that is tilted toward high-growth stocks as long as you can stomach it. Take a look at the portfolio I put together with ETFs, yielding a pretty good return, and they're fairly safe. You would think that the opposite is true because you have a shorter time horizon before retirement, then you should take less risk. But it's important to remember that the time you spend in retirement should be included in that horizon. You might be retired for 50 or 60 years. You need your money to continue to grow during that time, or at least pay out dividends at a steady rate. This is where I am at the moment, and now I need to shift a part of my equity and my portfolios into something more secure. I need to be able to weather a recession without having to sell off my high-growth stocks. So, excluding my emergency fund, which is about 6 months worth of expenses, the rest should be invested in something giving you a steady payout, like a dividend company. Preferably one where your money both grows and gives you dividend. This will give you the 4% distribution rate we talked about earlier. So, for a few years ago, I started to invest more in dividend paying companies. So I get both the growth part and the steady dividend for my expenses. This will be my plan for retirement, and I'm looking to have around 300,000 in dividend companies and averaging a dividend around at least 5 or 6% a year. But I'm having a hard time not buying more Tesla stock whenever Tesla dips. I could be looking at bonds now that the rate is almost 4%. Before, bonds were not that good of an option, but now bonds are getting a bit interesting again. However, I really don't like bonds, and the measly 4%, I can find a lot better dividend-paying companies, like looking at the dividend aristocrats. These are companies which are part of the S&P 500, who have paid and increased their dividends consistently over the last 25 years. Here I'm looking at companies like Altria Group with around 8.79% in dividend yield, AT&T with almost 8% dividend yield, Walgreens with 7.3, 3M with 6.1, AbbVie 3.9, Target 3.52, and so on and so on. Good, strong companies that have been paying dividend for a long time. So, technically, you could have your investment spread over these companies and have a perpetual portfolio, as long as they increase the dividend at the same rate as inflation. A portfolio with 300,000, which could be accumulated in 10 years if you wanted to. In the 3 best companies would yield around 1,500 a month after tax and dividends. And because they raise their dividends every year, that number will grow. Also, these companies have in the last 20 years appreciated with around 5% a year on average, and that's on top of their dividends. You could even take out more than 4% of the principal if needed and still never run out of money. As long as I can keep my expenses down, which is the last point. Step number 5. Keep your expenses in check. You've done a fair amount of work estimating how much you'll spend in retirement. The harder job will be actually sticking to that. It starts small, you throw yourself a little party. Then you find yourself with some extra time on your hands, you're retired, don't forget, so I plan a vacation, go through stores, take up gourmet cooking, or adopt a dog, buy a new car. Suddenly, that 4% has a 1 in front of it. Try to avoid it. Stick to the plan. So, not to state the obvious, but the 4% rule only works if you stick to the rule. So, to recap, the earlier you start, the better. The more frugal you can be in the beginning, the better. Invest for growth if you can stomach the ups and downs. And somewhere in that timeline, start looking into investments that would yield income no matter how the market is doing, like a dividend company. I must be getting old, because I suddenly can appreciate the steady flow of dividend income. I get it every year, even though it's not a lot yet, but it's really nice to just see the money coming in without me selling anything or doing anything. I'm still a growth investor at heart and truly believe even a high growth portfolio can handle a recession. The only issue is that portfolio has to have a substantial size to be able to handle a long period of slow or no growth. Look at Google from January 2018 to March 2020. Let's say we were retired then. The stock was negative in that period. So selling some stock every year in that period would really have hurt your portfolio.
Oh man, your boy Kevin just lost lots of money.
Same with almost all other high growth companies in that period. Yes, I know some of the dividend companies also suspended dividends in 2020, but not the dividend aristocrats. My plan with my portfolio is to add more of dividend paying companies in the coming years and try to reach the point where the dividends will be able to pay for all my fixed expenses. So I can use the growth part for all the fun stuff and will be able to live a very comfortable life, even if I get higher medical bills and should live beyond 100. What do you think? Are you thinking about retirement at this point? Leave a comment, and if you found some value in this video, please like it, as it helps others find the video too. That's it for this video. Hope to see you in the next one. And remember, the best investment you can do is in you. The more you learn, the more you earn. Bye.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief. Know what I want, so I'll take it on. I've made mistakes, but mistakes make you strong. Let's break it down for a minute. I want the crown, I'm gon' get it. You hear me loud, man, I'm winning. Yeah, Charlie Sheen will be grinning. These ladies know that I'm sinning, and this is just the beginning. I'm closing in the ninth inning. There ain't no point in resisting. Living